So make a quick video. I've got these apple seeds here, and I've got about 200 of them because I've recently had a couple of crazy years. Ended with being kidnapped and held hostage for close to 6 months in America, 3 months in a jail, and then 3 months in a detention centre for immigrants. Anyway, the one good thing about the jail was they used to give me an apple every single day, so I kept all the apple seeds and just started to grow them. You can see this one sprouted here, and this one. So I've got a little, I'll put them in there for now till they come up, and then I'll repot them. Anyway, yeah, so 6 months, 6 months kidnapped and held hostage. But the thing about it was, in the jail, there was no library. It's locked in a room, 3 months, no sunlight, no fresh air, 8 guys in a room, 3 months, no exercise. You couldn't, well, all you could do was like, push-ups and stuff, lift up your, do some weights with your mattress, rolling it up and stuff like that. There was no, or you could just walk up backwards. There was guys who'd walk backwards and forwards all day, but I had to just go away from that because it was crazy. But there was a little tablets in there you could occasionally get with books on. So I found that Crowley book, Crowley, and just that I seen a video on YouTube a few days ago, and saying about how he was like the wickedest man ever and the beast and this and that and blah blah blah. But I'll tell you the quick story. So I found this book on this tablet called Moonchild, and this was so the story of the book Moonchild was basically they were trying to bring an entity into the world using magic rituals, and they succeeded. Crowley himself wasn't in the book, but this video was seen on YouTube a few days ago was basically alluding to the thing of them trying to do it. I read a few of the comments, and it was from a controlled opposition shield source. So I dropped a comment basically saying, silence in the background now. Dropped the comments basically saying, well, you actually read Crowley's 1917 novel called Moonchild, you'll find out that what they're saying is the actual opposite. It's just a story from that storybook, but they twisted it into an evil way. Anyway, so I read that book in the jail. Then I got moved to a detention centre. So many 6 hours away, something like that. And I was able to go to a library then. Now, because I was English speaking, and I was able to force my rights, my rights as such, I was able to get library access every single day. But because the majority of people in there was Latino speaking, Spanish speaking, there wasn't a lot of English books. So one day I'm in there and I'm like, come on, there's got to be a book here for me. And then the only book that I found, not the only book that I found, there was tons of like, USA books. But I found a book called Masks of the Illuminati by Robert Anton Wilson. Now I've got another Robert Anton Wilson book called Prometheus Rising. But anyway, here's a little coincidence, synchronicity story. So I was seeing the psyche nurse in the detention centre because it was really affecting me. But it wasn't. I was just playing the game, and it was someone to talk to. So I used to go and speak to her about occult things. Let me just cover them a sec so they're not getting direct sunlight on them roots. Plant that in a minute. And I mentioned Crowley to this lady, this doctor, and lo and behold, a few days later, I find this book in the library by Robert Anton Wilson, Masks of the Illuminati. So the main protagonist in it is a guy called Sir John Babcock, and it's basically a story of his initiation into the Hermetic Order, the Golden Dawn. So I'm reading the book. Bear in mind I've mentioned Crowley a few days before. And I'm reading the book and I'm halfway through it. And I was thinking, hang on, this is written by Robert Anton Wilson. And he was a, what's the word I'm looking for? He used to, I've listened to talks he's give about Aleister Crowley, saying how, about all the lies that I said about him. So I was thinking, hey, hang on, Robert Anton Wilson was into Crowley. I wonder if he'll mention Crowley in this book. The next chapter, Crowley came into the book. Crowley came into the book and became a pivotal character in the book, and in the end of the story, basically he feeds them all some kind of LSD. He feeds it to James Joyce, Albert Einstein, this Sir John Babcock, and Crowley himself. Anyway, that was it. But here's, you can see where I was. Berrien County Jail, Michigan. So this was from Moonchild. So I'm going to read this, but I'll have to move this to one side so I can read it. And this is in rhyme, but I'm not able to read it in rhyme because I've had to write it down in blocks, because it's only allowed 1 or 2 sheets of paper a week. So, utter the word of majesty and terror, true without lie and certain without error. And of the essence of the truth I know, the things above are as the things below. The things below are as the things above. To wield the one thing's thaumaturgy, love. As all from one sprang by one contemplation, so all from one were born by permutation. Sun sired, moon bore, this unique universe. Air was its chariot, and earth. Air was its chariot, and earth its nurse. Here is the root of every talisman, of the whole world since the whole world began. Here is the fount and source of every soul. Let it be split on earth, its strength is whole. Now gently, subtly, with the art conspire, to find the gross, dividing earth and fire. Lo, it ascendeth and descendeth even, and swift an endless band of earth and, heaven even. Thus it receiveth might of Dupac's love, the powers below conjoined with those above. So shall the glory of the world be thine, and darkness flee before thy sovereign shrine. Plus as well, they only gave us this blue marker. It cost me $4, and they give you a child's felt tip. Anyway, this is the strong strength of all strength surpass, the subtle and subdue it, pierce the crash, and salve it, so bring all things to their fated perfection. For thy this was all created. O marvel of miracle, O magic mode, all things adapted to one circling code. Since 3 parts of all wisdom I may claim, Hermes thrice great, and greatest is my name. What I have written of the one sole Son, his work is here divined, and dared, and done. And then below it said that the secret of the universe is revealed to those who are worthy to partake it. Aleister Crowley. So, Crowley's, what is it? History is written by the victors. And they'll tell you all these perverse stories about him, and how he tried to summon the devil and his son died, and it's just lies. He never had a son. Was it Montgomery? Said his son Montgomery died, and he was never happened. Just lies. But a strange thing now is, if you search for Sir John Babcock, the oldest ever surviving guy from World War One, his name was John Babcock. It's just, everything's just controlled. The internet lies to you. Yeah, so Crowley, good guy. Sadly.